and welcome to a special blacksmith edition of From This to That. This week, we're going to be taking this wrought iron anchor chain from Andrew over at Blacksmith Tools on Instagram, and we're going to be turning it into a beautiful Japanese bladesmithing hammer. The hammer is going to be engraved, inlaid with copper, silver, and gold. It's going to be beautiful, but first, we want to take a time out and throw it over to Matt, and he's going to tell us about today's sponsor. Thanks a lot, Matt. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's once again time for Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends is a completely free-to-play, turn-based game on the mobile device and now for the PC.
It's on the PC?
Yeah, it's on the computer now too. Collect new champions, battle other players and bosses, and other challenges that Raid comes up with. There's always something new in this game. Raid Shadow Legends online player community is always growing and always ready to help out. Whether it's on Discord or through the app itself, you can find players, tag team up with them, and take on other players in the new tag team arena. Just like the classic battle arena, it's a 4v4 battle, only this time it's best out of 3. So the first team to 2 wins the entire series. There are over 216,000 clans in Raid Shadow Legends. I'm under the nickname StalkerTron in the game, and if you're quick enough, you can join my clan, and we can be PvPing later tonight. Go to the description below, click on the special links, and if you're a new player, you're gonna get 200,000 free gold and a brand new free champion, Grinner. Once you've created your account, log into the app, and you can find your rewards right here in the upper right corner. These special rewards are only gonna be around for another 30 days, so don't wait. Click the link below, download Raid Shadow Legends today.
Can we start making the hammer now?
Yeah, now, let's make a hammer.
Now that the chain has been cut, one thing to notice is these are always welded on anchor chains, and this is not usable material right here. It is actually stick welded to prevent erosion when the chain is pulled in and out from the ship. So before I do anything, I have to heat it up and use a hot cut to remove the entire thing in the vise. After that, I will square it up, cut it off, and size it.
Now, most of our forging hammer is going to be made out of the wrought iron anchor chain. In fact, the vast majority of our hammer will be wrought iron, where the eye is punched through and so on. However, we want to add some high carbon faces to either side of our hammer. That way it makes it much more durable and ensures that we're not only making a piece of art, but also a tool. With our wrought iron now sized to its proper dimension, it's time to start on those high carbon faces. Ilya is going to start from a piece of 1045 round stock, which is the same material that we most often use when we're forging our hammers anyway. He's going to square that material up, draw it out, hot cut it in half, and then those two pieces will be forge welded onto our wrought iron body, creating our high carbon faces. With our material now forged to shape, it's time to move to the grinder to do a little bit of surface prep before we tack weld the pieces together and begin forge welding. Now that our material is tack welded together, it's time to add a little flux, in this case borax. As our material heats up slowly in the forge, the borax will melt, dripping down in between the material, creating an oxygen blocker, which makes sure no scale forms between our pieces. If that happened, it wouldn't be a good forge weld and our faces would fall right off the body of the hammer. After 2 heats of light taps, ensuring our forge weld, we can then move on to start drawing the material out on the sides. You can see that all 3 pieces are bonded together as one, and we can start turning this into the hammer preform, ready for the eye to be punched.
The hammer is now already forged. Normally I leave my hammers as forged and heat treat them and mount them. However, I'm planning on doing some engraving on this particular hammer, which is the advantage of using a wrought iron body with 1045 faces. So I'm going to move to my broad back grinder and clean all the surfaces before heat treating.
You may notice during the grinding we're only using a 36 grit felt before heat treating. That is done on purpose. Using a 36 grit to scratch in on the surface of the hammer helps it add surface area, ensuring a better quench during the heat treat. Before placing the hammer into the forge to heat it up and then quench, we first turn on our even heat kiln to get ready for the tempering after the quench. steel with this much mass, it's very important to do something called an agitated quench, keeping your piece moving the entire time it's in the water. Otherwise, a steam jacket will form around your material and it simply will not cool evenly and possibly could even crack. Well, our heat treat was successful. Everything looks good to go. It's time to place our hammer now into our kiln and let it slowly climb up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, where it'll sit for about an hour before we can take it back out and do the finish grinding.
Now that the hammer is tempered, it's time to move through the grit, starting with a 60 grit all the way to the Scotch-Brite.
With the polishing of the hammer now complete, it's time to move on to the design work that will become the engraving and the inlay for the design on our hammer. Ilya has decided to go with a peony motif. The peony is more often than not in Japanese culture paired with the lion dog or the shishi. Together, the peony and the shishi symbolize longevity and prosperity. Once he's confident with his design, Ilya can then mount his hammerhead into the engraving ball and begin carving away his design. With the layout of the design now roughed into the hammer, it's time to saw pierce out our silver flower petals that will be inlaid into the hammerhead. With the peony now pierced out, Ilya uses a scribe to trace around it onto the hammer so he can then begin carving out the recess where the silver will then be. Before placing the silver into the recess, Ilya's actually domed the silver just slightly. That way it actually spring sets into place. And to set it, he can just do light taps with a hammer, then moving on to a chisel to ensure that it's in there forever. Once the silver is set in place, he can begin carving it as well, just like he did the hammer before. The silver will go much quicker because it's a much softer material. With the silver flower most of the way carved, it's time to move back to the wrought iron and begin carving in where the leaves of the flower and the stem of the flower will be. The leaves of the flower will be inlaid with 24 karat gold, and the stem of the flower will be inlaid in copper. With our 24 karat gold now hammered into place, Ilya can now move on to using a burnishing tool to finish the setting of the gold into the wrought iron. A little bit of hand sanding, and our design on our beautiful wrought iron hammer is now revealed. The only thing left to do is to then antique it, first by using some ferric chloride solution to bring out the natural look and grain in the wrought iron, and then using some sea salt in a bag and letting the hammer sit for quite some time. This will slightly coat the entire surface of our hammer with a little bit of rust, turning it a little brown, giving it a very nice antiqued look. We're creating our hammer handle out of hard maple. We get hard maple blanks cut from Thrain Axe and Saw Mill Company, and then we hand sand each one to shape. You see, the proper shape for the handles on these bladesmithing hammers have a slight curve to them and also are very thin. There's no blanks that can be purchased on the market, so we're forced to make each one by hand ourselves. Well, the Slavic smith does it once again, creating a beautiful piece of art and a functional tool out of a piece of scrap wrought iron. This project turned out absolutely stunning. If you're interested in purchasing this very hammer that has 1045 welded on faces to wrought iron body that's highly engraved, inlaid with copper, silver, and gold, head on over to thatworks.shop where you can buy this very hammer or one like it. We also make a very affordable line of bladesmithing hammers that start around a couple $100. So if you can't afford one like this, you can always start there. They're very great hammers. We highly recommend them. And remember, not all wrought iron is made the same. A lot of wrought iron would take a lot of folding to consolidate enough to make a hammer out of, and some of it you can fold all you want and it'll never get there. So head on over to Instagram, look up Andrew at Blacksmith Tools, and get yourself some of this wrought iron anchor chain today to start one of your own epic projects. And thanks for watching this special blacksmith edition of From This to That. If you enjoyed this build, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and as always, tell us in the comments below what build you'd like to see this team build next. Here's a couple of our favorite videos. If you like this one, check out these. And don't forget to subscribe to That Work.